Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a tall guy, so that's the reason I have to get my microphone up. Welcome to this session on how it's called New Innovations in Capacity Building and Training for Water Utilities. My name is Rüdiger Heidebrecht. I'm head of the Department Training and International Cooperation in DWA, the German Association for Water, Wastewater and Waste. And all my work in Germany, that would be nice. Yeah. All my work in Germany I do on training. That's since 20 years. We train a lot of people in Germany, and the reason I'm here, I think, is that I know AQUA very well because I was one of the consultants who created AQUA in 2006. And I'm the first member, I think, from foreign countries in AQUA. That's right? Yeah. He can prove that. Okay. So we are here to have 4 sessions, and we changed the order a little bit because ladies first, we said, because the aeroplane is not waiting this afternoon. So we have our colleagues. We have one colleague from Canada, we have Jordanians, we have from Denmark. So it's an international audience, and we're looking forward for the capacity development. Capacity development has different focus. You know, one is on the national level, one is on the operational level, and one is on the individual level. So we have 4 good lectures to see and to attract the different capacity development areas. So now 20 minutes sharp, and because we want to make sure that we are in time and we have a little bit time for discussion later on. So Henriette, it's your time.
Thank you very much. First, let me start out by giving a small introduction to who I am and why I'm here talking about capacity development. I'm head of the Academy by DHI, and we have years of experience doing both capacity development packages and programs, as well as normal training courses, as I call them. DHI deals with everything that has to do with water, modeling, project work, but also the software itself. And we put a lot of research funding in our own software and the development as well. So a part of what we do is making this knowledge available to everyone around the world through the software, but also through our training activities. We have offices in more than 30 countries and have experiences from projects all over the world. So when I'm here today talking about capacity development and training activities, it comes from a background that is global with all the knowledge that we've gathered there. The Academy by DHI, which I'm heading, is dealing with all kinds of training activities, conferences, and more broadly the knowledge sharing, whether it's research papers or master theses sharing from universities and so on. Just to give you an idea on how much training we do is that we've trained more than 5,000 people in 2013, spanning more than 40 countries. And doing that, we have a lot of experience what works and what doesn't work. And I'm sure that those of you that have done training in here, you know the experience that you have sometimes about people nodding off during the presentations and the different activities that you try. You also have some that actually don't feel engaged at all, so it doesn't really matter if you're, at your best, because it doesn't really ring a bell. So a lot of the focus that we spend today is on how to engage people in the training activity so they actually learn something. If we want to do training and capacity development actually achieve something, it's very important that it's not a one-off, where we go in, do some training, and we leave, and then nothing. It needs to be something that kind of like stays with the people, and they continue using that in their own work. If we look at the need for training, 82% of the world, according to the UN water status reports, are changing their laws when it comes to water resource management. But only 35% have sufficient training in water resource management. So that is a gap that somehow we need to cover, and we need both to reduce the gap, so the will and the capability goes hand in hand in solving the water problems that we're facing today. In this region, and we've also with some of the other presentations that I've seen on water scarcity and the non-revenue water issues and so on, we have, when we look at a specific catchment, we have a lot of conflicting uses of water. We have the agricultural uses, we have the industry using water, we have the households using water, and that also comes with wastewater that goes into and pollutes something. So if we only look at, for instance, the industry and we try to maximize what is happening here, then we have the risk that we sub-optimize and it's not good for the entire catchment. So how do we get all these conflicting uses, and on top of that we also have climate change happening and flooding and droughts all over. So how do we get to optimize the entire circle instead of doing these sub-optimizations that we're seeing? Water is a scarce resource and we need to share it fairly, as good as we can, and also be aware of the consequences that it has if we're not doing that. One of the ways that we have of addressing these challenges is, of course, using numerical models. Numerical models replace reality in the sense that we can model what is happening and we can see who's using water and we can identify the issues. Also means that we can test out different scenarios and find a better solution that will work for all, prioritizing the investments that we have and the need of that. And ultimately, you can actually go all the way and do decision support systems that will aid you in your decisions. So to take a very specific example, this is a small flooding situation from Denmark. We've also really had a big flooding again occurring this weekend. Putting it into a model, you can mimic the situation, and then you can start out testing, what scenarios can I do to avoid the flood risk. So this is the problem with too much water. We have too much water, we have too little water, we have all these problems around the world. So numerical modeling can help a lot. The problem is that this is really not something that you can use for people who are perhaps not technical. And does everybody need to be able to run a numerical model? It's a complex situation that we have with the water and the linkages. So how can we actually get this across to a larger group of people who are perhaps not technical? And this is where we, in our capacity development, we can do training courses, we can talk, I can talk for hours, for instance, but how do we actually engage and increase awareness for a large group of people? And this is where serious games comes into play. I don't know how many in the audience here have heard the term serious games? Serious games, your kids, they are playing video games, and it's not that. Serious games are games that are meant for something else than pure entertainment. It is a virtual world that mimics the complexity of the real world, and in this case, in terms of water environments. The idea is that when you do certain actions, whatever, you use water, you build a factory that uses water, whatever, it will have certain effects on the environment. So in this game, you do that, it will change the game environment, and then the game environment will predict what happens. The unique thing that we have is that we have a real numerical model, so it actually shows you what will happen. And then you see how the situation develops, and you can see, oh, this is my action causing this. And then you can try to improve. So you actually learn from your own experiences in a virtual world. And I think that we can all agree that learning from our own experience is the best way. Problem is, we don't have the luxury of learning the hard way. So the idea is that we take a specific river basin, catchment, we add the numerical model that actually computes what happens if you do this and that. We put in our actions. I'm building a factory, I'm cleaning my wastewater, I'm not treating it or whatever. And then we've combined that into a serious game called Aqua Republica. Aqua Republica is both for building capacity but also raising awareness on a broader scale. So in this model, you put in all the different weather conditions, the water uses, some predefined events, because in real life things happen that you didn't plan for. You didn't plan for the drought, you didn't plan for the flooding, you didn't plan for the people to get upset about the prices of water and stuff like that. So this is where you build something new. So you integrate a numerical model, you can add real data on top of that, and then you tailor that perhaps to your local conditions. The model, I think this is the difference between our serious game and other types of serious games is that we have a real numerical model running underneath. It's developed by DHI. It's called Mike Hydro Basin, and it deals for analyzing water sharing issues. And you can go to our website and learn more. Instead of just talking, again, I'm not a strong believer in just talking. Let's see some action. So we made a video of the game. This is just one example. We have it in different variations depending on what we want to convey, what message we want to convey. In this case, you actually select different missions. So you can, the student or the participants, they can say, well, I would like to deal with dealing with climate change, or I would like to balance food and water and energy. This was one of the presentations that I attended yesterday. It was also dealing with the nexus between food and water and energy. So here, this is how it looks. This is one way of how it looks. You have your catchment. You get some information. You learn as you play. You have a goal. You need to do this or that. And then you have, in this case, an upstream part of the neighborhood that is controlled by the computer. It could be that you're playing against someone else or with another stakeholder. So in this case, it will be a live person that you are playing with or against. You click somewhere, you build your factories or your farms or your industry. All these use water. Underneath, by the way, we have a numerical model that will then compute how much water is needed. You can add different types of measures. All these measures that you add, you want to flood protect your buildings, you want to do this and that, they come with a cost, as in the real life, because there's nothing you ever get for free. Everything comes with a cost. It also takes time to build some of these. In real life, if you build the wastewater treatment plant, it will start building it. It won't be done, immediately. So it takes time, and this game will put in the time delay. It will add the costs, and you can build different, and you can see it says here that here it's at 1 turn to do this. You can also equally build ecosystems. And if you're, really, you have your green hat on, you think, I will do a lot of this, and suddenly you get a lot of, in the game, like you're not producing enough energy, that your people are hungry because you didn't build the industry, you didn't build the agriculture, you don't have enough farms. You also have the ability to actually sell some of your goods, get some money. So a strategy in the game could be that you're trying to purchase all your energy, and then you sell the food that you produce. But since you also in this game then will run the risk of prices on the market, on the global market changing, you might actually find that your strategy is not working. As a part of the game, we also have tutorials, tips and tricks that will help you, do well. So they come with a learning objective, as in each of the training courses that you're normally used to doing. So you have a learning objective, a message that you want to convey. It will also show that. And it will show you what is the effect of what you did. And it will come with suggestions on how you can improve that. I should perhaps say that this is just one example of how it might look. It can easily be tailored specifically and also be used in stakeholder dialogues. And then you get points depending on how well you did. And this is just a way of, seeing how, your scoring principles and if you're overall doing well. And then you can quit the game and start again. We've done a number of these games. They all look slightly different depending on what the learning objective is. We've done everything also for stakeholder engagements. We have for the German Ministry of Education and Research, we have an example there. And I'll show that. This is one of the first versions that we did, which was for high schools, to highlight the water and ecosystems and the sensible, complex relationships that are between. Then, as you can see, this looks slightly different. This was used in a real IWRM project, where the idea was to get the different stakeholders to understand and what all the actions, what the result was of these, and what could happen. So it would to facilitate the collaboration between the stakeholders. There was also produced a public version that everyone could play in South Africa to create the broad awareness of what was happening. And the feedback received was very positive. about that how to convey this very difficult topic on water and complex topic on water, and how it was conveyed through doing this and creating a sound forum for discussions. It has also been used at different events, and every time it's the feedback also from not just the students but also from senior levels when it's used in stakeholder engagements has been very positive. And we're also doing more versions that are tailored to different needs. And again, we're actually going to run a competition between students in Singapore in a couple of months, where a specific version is made to create awareness about the water problems they're facing in Singapore, where they will play a Singaporean version and hopefully creating the awareness. I think that what we've seen is that people are really engaged. I've even seen that people were close to getting into fights. Who was going to win? We are all competitive somehow, at least deep down we are at some point. So we had the good thing about this is that it made an impact on both the students, even if they were children or high school students, but also the teachers could see how this could actually engage and create a discussion. So it was like felt instead of learned. So, to conclude, I would like to say, well, where do we go from here? I don't see serious gaming replacing every kind of training, because you also need some specific skills and you need to do some of the hard studying. But what I see is that using serious games based on real science and numerical models, this is very important. I'm an engineer. To me, it's very important that the science part is correct and that I can trust what it gives me. It provides a platform for engaging both stakeholders, creating an open environment for discussion, but also allowing students to learn from their own experience instead of me teaching, from my years of experience, I have this and that. But it can also be used for more broad awareness creation. So I am here to raise the question how we can best incorporate some of these new tools in our classic capacity development programs that we do and stakeholder dialogues, just to point out that this is an alternative that can be combined. Thank you. So you didn't have to stand up and threaten me to leave.
Good. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. She's in time, excellent. I saw one figure there. The average age is 30. If I look around here, we are all older than 30 most probably. Who has experience in gaming? Who was sitting on the computer and playing Age of Empire or... No? One is over here. Oh, there's a young guy over there. Because I think this is an interesting point for the future, because the discussion we also have in our organization is what will be the training courses in the future. Not our age. We know how to learn. We sit down. We even read a book. I know how to read a book and a magazine. That's the way we learn. But I have two children. I have two sons who are 24 and 22 now. They are gaming, and I used to game with them when they were 15, 16 years of age. So in the future, and when I come to my kids and say, have you read the book or do you know how to do that? He said, is there a video film in YouTube? I say, no, you have to read the book. So the kids and the future in our organizations, they learn differently, completely differently than what we experienced when we grow up. And it will be a challenge for everybody who is in training. If you're in the vocational training school or if you're in the continuous learning situation, if you're in the organizations, we have to shift to a different way of thinking, because the generation which comes up thinks in a different way. And I think this is a very nice experience in Germany. There are some companies who are working on this, some research is done on these serious games, and I think this is something to attract. It will not delete all the other things, but it will be one of the part, I think, for the future, and it will be interesting to see. And you can involve a lot of people through the internet. Perhaps in front of the next Arab Water Week in 2 years, there might be a serious game for the Dead Sea region, how to make a nice village in the Dead Sea region, and the best students from the university comes here and gets a prize. So things like that could be also even involved in conferences like this to attract young people to this one. Thank you very much. Any questions? She's good in time, so she can have some questions. Please.
I'm Bilkis from Yemen. How about implementation later on? To apply the games in practice and later on. After learning What is the next step afterwards? How to
I think when you learn it, I think the good thing, perhaps I can answer, normally if you have a serious game which really shows your location, your GIS location, your city, with your buildings, and then the people play on it, they realize this is my house, this is my room, this is my river.
It still remains a game. Yes.
Well, it can be a game where it's an artificial environment, but like Heidebrecht is saying, it can also be tailored completely to your conditions. So it will be your catchments, it will be your river, so it's completely tailored. So in this sense, it actually leaves the game a little bit. And we shouldn't forget that it actually has a numerical model, the Mike Hydro Basin beneath, which means that the technical science, what does it mean that a water user is extracting a lot of water for the industry or for the agricultural purposes, that will actually be real science. It won't be a game or fictive in that sense. So that way, I think that the first step you need to is create the awareness. What does your and my daily actions when we shower or we use a lot of water, what does that have an impact? But if you're using it in a stakeholder dialogue session, it will actually also create I would say a neutral area where I can discuss with you about water usage without saying, you're using all the water, I need it for another purpose. So I think that it's creating a platform for discussion, and I think that also, as you were saying, that if we want to change the perception of water use and so on, we need people to talk together and find a solution that is the best for the entire area and not just me thinking of my own needs, which is, of course, my first choice.
Let me give you another example. We're just doing a research in Germany and also serious games, how would be the city looking like when you change the normal sanitation system with pipes and everything into alternative grey water reuse, yellow water reuse and all these things. And this we will do with realistic data from the city so that the people, the politicians, can go in the game and they see, oh, this is my city, my church, my mosque, and it's really live. And what happened when I change this now, the system? What will be the impact? And then the people, even politicians, they have no idea what is behind, but they can see how situations make change. So it's one part of telling a story and getting people to play, and I think it's interesting for the future to see how this will be developed. Last time I was together with a company also doing a lot of research, and they said, next time we go into a virtual room and the craftsmen from sanitation, they get a screwdriver, but not a realistic one. They get a virtual one. And they repair a pump, just not having the pump, just looking on a screen, in fact, and with a mirror on, with glasses on. So a lot of things going into this direction, and it will be interesting in the future to see how this will be developed. Thank you very much again, and I call the next lecture, I hope I spell it in the right way, Ahmed Al-Azam. He is from Canada, he said, but I asked him, not looking like a Canadian, but he's from this region working here, but he works for a Canadian company, and they have a lot of experience here in management and how to improve the capacity of the management. So the title is not a software, now we're coming to realistic and things. It's your floor, please.
Today, as you see over here, we're going to talk about capacity building. I'll speak in Arabic, so if anybody needs translation, could you please just switch the headphones on? Okay. اليوم بدنا نحكي عن عملية بناء القدرات تبع المؤسسات مع التركيز على الجزء المالي والإداري. يمكن لاحظنا جزء كبير من المحاضرات كان بيركز على الجزء الفني. عم نحكي عن نون ريفينيو ووتر، عم نحكي عن البايبس، عن شغلات كتير يمكن تكنيكال. هون حنحول شوي نعمل سويتش نحكي عن التنظيم الإداري والمالي للمؤسسات. عشان نقدر نشتغل على هذا الموضوع رح تلاقوا اشتغلنا على عدة نقاط. الأولى حاولنا نعمل توثيق للمسار العمل، لأنه من أهم الشغلات عشان نتأكد أنه إحنا غطينا كل النقاط اللي تحتاجها أي مؤسسة، كان لازم بالأول نبدأ بمسار العمل. لازم نعرف الخطوات الرئيسية، شو هي